to Katrina's Creations Knitting Podcast. This is episode 50. And this episode, because it's episode 50, it's going to be a little bit different in that it's going to have two parts. A few weeks ago when my husband and I went on our vacation and I did a yarn giveaway, there was a question. The prompt to enter that giveaway was you had to leave a question for my husband and I. So the second part of this, which is a separate video, it says episode 50 part 2, that is going to be a question and answer session with my husband and I, and you get to meet our little dog. So, that sounds funny, and her little dog too, just like the Wizard of Oz. But anyway, yeah, that's going to be a separate video. And there also is going to be a tutorial in this episode that will also post separately. So if for some reason you just want to watch the tutorial, you can do that. So I can be found on Facebook as Katrina Knits and on Ravelry as Katrina's Creations. My Etsy shop is kind of gone by the wayside right now. I'm not really fooling with it a whole lot. You can also find me as Katrina Knits on Pinterest. So if you want to, go ahead and check those other sites out. And you can see some of the projects I've done. I'm wearing one of my earlier projects. This was done quite a few years ago. Let's see if I can... Well, this is actually... it's called the Lace-Edged Cardigan with Collar by Ann Budd. Now, it's a capelet is what it is. It came out of a book that was called Grand Plan Top-Down Capelets. So it's sort of like a shawl. And I'm not going to stand up in front of the camera because you'll never see the detail. It has this lace edge on it. And I knitted this. This is back before I was buying more expensive yarn. So this is actually done in Red Heart So Soft. And it is really so soft. And it's washable. And it has held up. I mean, I don't wear it a whole lot, but when I do, it's like really snuggly. And upstairs in my craft room right now, it's chilly because I'm actually not filming on Saturday. I'm filming Friday night. My podcasts have been taking a long time to upload because for some reason my video editor is doing it in HD, which takes like hours upon hours upon hours. So I wanted to be able to get this up so you guys could watch it on Saturday, actually, instead of Saturday night or Sunday. So as a result, I'm filming it tonight, so the background here is a little bit darker than normal for that reason. So let's get started with my finished objects. I am finally finished, the very last of the dishcloths. Ever, probably. But anyway, here is, I had some of that blue, the dark blue, and some of the multicolor blue. So I made one. I had enough left between all the scraps of the blues that I had to make one. And I didn't make these colors to look great together, and I really didn't care because, you know, it's a dishcloth. But in all honesty, I don't think it's that bad. So there is one. And then this is the yarn that my mother gave me. I haven't woven the ends in or anything yet. So here's, and that's pretty true to color. It's different colors of turquoise. Kind of, I think it was called like a Caribbean color or something like that. So, and there's the other one. And I have that much left, which is just going to go into my little scrap bundle. So those are my finished objects for this week. So let me go on and show you what my works in progress are. I'm making the Drachenfels, but I did not work on it at all this week. I just never got around to it. I tried to knit something on each night. I tried to knit something on my project so that I've got something accomplished, but I got sidetracked and never got to Drachenfels this week. So this is my On the Spice Market, and this is where I was last week. So I don't have a whole lot because I took this with me to Knit Night, which is my Tuesday night knitting group that I go to, and it's my local yarn shop's about 7 miles down the road for me. So here is my On the Spice Market so far. And the background is being knit with a black yarn that is actually made out of sugarcane viscose. And the colored section in here is being done with this, and I forget what this is called, but it's like a sock blank. Let me unroll this and I'll show you what I'm knitting off of this, and you can see that you just kind of pull this just like a sock blank. So I'm literally knitting right off of this, and I have quite a few of these balls, so who knows, I'm probably going to have some leftovers of this, because there's a lot more yardage here when you pull it apart. I think without pulling it apart, it's only like 10 yards, but when you're pulling it this direction, you're getting a lot more yardage. So I might have some extras of that by the time I finish. And this is the sugarcane viscose. Guys, this is so soft, and it's really knitting nicely. It's not thready or anything. And I was chatting back and forth to the lady who does University. Her name's Christine Kelly, Christine with a K. She has a podcast, and she was talking about different types of yarns that were unusual in this last episode she did. And I sent her a message, and because she asked if we had ever knitted with things that were a little strange. And I said, well, I'm currently knitting with some yarn that comes from sugarcane viscose. And I said, it's really, really soft. And she said she actually has knitted with it as well and thought it was soft too. And she's actually going to do one of her segments down the road a little bit on how that is produced. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm guessing that they process it pretty much how they do bamboo, but which means they kind of soak it until it becomes almost like a pulp, and then they form it into fibers. That's my guess, but I'm not really sure. So I'm looking forward to her episode to learn more about it. She does a lot of informative type of videos where she tells kind of how things are done, or a little bit of history of different types of wool, things like that. So my other project is my design shawl, and I do have a giveaway going with this. If you want to suggest a name for the shawl, when I get ready to pick a name for it, whoever's name I pick gets a free pattern of the shawl. So last week I was right here, and I've added all of this lace from here up to here. So let me hold this up so you can see the full thing so far. And this could be done in any color. I just chose to do it in gold. So this is looking kind of white on the pattern, or on the monitor, but it's actually called Custard. This yarn is Knit Picks Palette, and it is in the fingering weight. So it starts in garter, and then it goes to a texture, and then it goes to just some little yarn overs, and then it goes to a lacy pattern, and then it goes to this pattern, and I'm not sure what it's going to go even more lacy, I think, in the next pattern, but I'm not sure. But I'm having a lot of fun with kind of inventing some of the lace. I've knitted lace before, but I've never really designed lace before, so I'm having a good time with it. Yeah, so I'm having fun. And the funny thing is, the color I'm in right now, which is called, I believe it is turmeric. This is turmeric. It's almost identical, let me show you something, to the sweater I am knitting. Look at that. Really, really close. Which is a good thing, because if for some reason I run out of yarn, there's an alternative. Not in the fingering weight, but they make this in worsted as well. But look how close that is. So I'll show you the sweater in a minute, because we had a problem with it last week and it got fixed. So let me show you the sweater and I'll explain what happened. It was actually a pattern error, or a pattern omission, I should say. Last week I showed you the back, and then I showed you the front, and the front was like 10 inches longer than the back was, and I thought that's not the way it's supposed to turn out. So I have fixed it. This is the front, and this is the back. Let me hold this up so you can kind of get an idea of the sweater. I'm holding it by the sleeves. Let me roll back here. I'm holding it by the sleeves. The colored part here is the yoke, and then the back has this really cool, you can see the detail there, like a mitered edge, this progress keeper here is not where I was last week. I put that on there so I could keep track of what the front was from the back. Because the fact it's all done in garter, it's kind of hard to tell, and you have to really know, you have to keep track of what's front and back with this for your decreases. So this is the front section. You can see I ran out of my first cone of yarn and had to tie on another one. So this is the front. And then you see this blue edge on the edge here. And this is a provisional cast on. It is actually crocheted on. And what is going to happen, I'll hold this up so you can see it. Again, here's the armhole, here's the front, here's the back. There is a panel that's going to go in between the front and the back, basically underneath your arm. But in order to do that without having a seam, because if I just went and picked up these stitches, there would be a seam where I joined it. With a provisional cast on, where these color yarns, so you can see it really good with the blue, I'm going to pick up the stitches on here. When I pull this, which I'm not going to do yet because I don't have the needles ready, when I pull this, it's going to like unzip like a chain stitch in crochet. And when that happens, the needles become, or the stitches become live again. You just pick up those stitches and start knitting again. So it is called a provisional cast on. And I am going to do a tutorial of my doing this. So you will see a tutorial later in the video. I will insert that and show you what it turned out looking like and how to do it. And it also will be a standalone video. So that is my sweater progress. Oh, and I didn't tell you what happened with the pattern itself. I just said it was a little bit of a pattern error. When I cast on the stitches to do the front, it told you, you went across here and then you went down. And I can't say too much because it is a paid for pattern. It came out of a book. But anyway, it told you to cast on a certain number of stitches. But behind the number, in parentheses, it had a series of other numbers that gradually went up in number. So I looked at it and assumed that the first number was for the smallest size of the sweater, and the numbers in the parentheses were for each increasing size of sweater. Needless to say, I made it 44 stitches longer than it needed to be, which came out to 44 rows longer than it needed to be, which came out to 5,128 stitches over what I needed it to be. What was missing on the pattern was the words stitch totals. In other words, my total stitch, the numbers that were in those parentheses were actually the number of stitches I should have between coming across the yoke and going down the side. And the way I saw it, because it didn't say stitch total, I assumed it was the number of stitches going down the side for whatever size you were making. So once I looked at it and started adding things up, I went, oh, it's stitch count. So once I did that, we were good to go, and I knitted it back up again. I knit the whole side this week because I had to rip the entire thing out because it would have put the miter coming down in the wrong spot. So yeah, I had to rip the whole thing out. So progress-wise on the sweater, I've knitted the whole front this week. And I have been knitting on this a lot because I wanted to get back to where I was caught up before I ripped it all out again. So that was that project. And then because I finished my dishcloths, I had to have something to knit in the car. And I can't do my design shawl while I'm in the car because I have to write the pattern as I'm knitting it and count the stitches to make sure everything adds up and everything. And can't do the sweater because it's just too big and bulky for the car. And on the Spice Market, it's at the point now where I'm doing some of the fancier stitches, so I need to have the pattern in front of me for that. So what am I to do? Cast on something else. Yes. If you remember this last week from my yarn haul from when I went on vacation, this is the Katrina Paint. This color is just called number 53. This is what it looks like. It's a variegated. It looks purple here. It's not. It's a real light charcoal. It's kind of a grayish brown. It just doesn't show up real well. All the other colors are pretty true to color, except for the purpley looking color. And the funny thing is when I initially looked at this, I think my local yarn store had this, but they didn't have this particular color, so it really didn't catch my attention. I was at knit night the other night, and she had it sitting on a shelf, and I was like, oh, I just bought that. She didn't have it in this color, but everybody else, there was like 2 or 3 ladies there that night that actually were buying it, not to make the poncho that I'm making. They were buying it to make the shawl, or it's a shawl, but it's more like a scarf. It's not a big shawl. It's kind of like a shawlette. So they were making that. The pattern that goes with this is a free pattern. You can get it on the Katia website. And this technically is the wrong side, at least according to the pattern. And again, I have a progress keeper because I knitted this entire thing this week. I put the progress keeper on so I could keep track of the front from the back. When I first got started, until I got used to the pattern, I wanted to be able to remember. But this is supposed to be the wrong side. At least the pattern part of it is knit from this side. This, I think, is actually the right side. I think it's just you do the pattern stitching on the wrong side, because see, this looks so much better. It's almost like it's like a modified basket weave. And the colors are pretty true to form. It goes from a gray to a lighter gray, and now I'm into a gold color. And the next one I'm going to go to is a deeper gold, which is funny because once again, it matches this gold, which matches the gold in my sweater. I'm on a gold kick, apparently, for some reason. But anyway, yes, this has been my car knitting this week. And I'll hold this back so you can see it. It is approximately 10 inches, about 10 inches long right now. So that is that project. That's all the works in progress I have. But now, let me tell you that, first off, I wanted to say a great big thank you to you guys. Every time I do a giveaway, I always get worried that somebody will be a sore loser if they don't win. I always get afraid of that. It's never happened. I've been so thankful. You guys are wonderful with that. I mean, it's just for fun, and you guys were congratulating the winner, who has received her yarn already. She and I chatted back and forth, and she's already gotten her yarn. But, you know, that's something I always worry about. I always am afraid, oh, I'll lose subscribers if they don't win, or, you know, people might be upset. And you guys are great. That's never happened. And, you know, I just want to be very thankful that I don't have anybody on here that's really, I've never run into anybody being nasty to other people on this video or on this podcast, and that's great because we're just one big knitting group, so I think that's great. And thank you for all of those that did participate in the yarn haul. And like I said, Diane, who won it, I sent it out on Tuesday. I was shocked. I sent it on Tuesday. She had it on Thursday. I was really surprised. It wasn't supposed to get there till Friday, but it got there on Thursday. So anyway, Diane, when you're watching, send me a picture when you make something out of it. I'd love to see what it knits up into, what it grows up and becomes. So I went shopping again this week, guys. I know I've spent so much on vacation, but I went over to my yarn shop, and if you remember, I won this Woolen Vine yarn, and I've been trying to find something to go with it. I have some pink, like this, that I was originally going to put with this, except when I opened up the skein of yarn and looked closer, it had red mixed in it, and I thought red is just not going to look quite right. And it was funny, with this name, it's called Yellow Dress, and I did not connect what reference this was until one of the yarn shop owner where I go to her knit night, she was looking at it, she goes, Beauty and the Beast, Belle's dress. I bet. I'm betting. It does look like it. So, I could be totally wrong there, but I think she might have hit the nail on the head. That might be Belle's dress. But anyway, all on vacation, I was looking something to go with this yellow. I was thinking it was more lemony yellow than what it really was. It's almost an orangey yellow. It's pretty true to color right there. Anyway, I walk in, I'm back. I sat all my other yarn back on top of it, so that was good. Look at these together. It's not quite the same, but this has some darker yellows in it that kind of match some of the yellows that are in this. Because here's a little bit lighter yellow. And here's some lighter yellows mixed in with the whites in here. So I think this is going to go together really nice. So those are two. This is a yarn I just bought. And it is Ella Ray Lace Merino worsted. And it is 100% worsted. Or 100% wool. It's merino it's lace merino worsted. I'm not quite sure what that means. How could it be lace and worsted? I don't know, but it's the same thickness that this is. And it's the same fiber content as well. Because this is, well, this one's an 80-20. So, but it'll still be fine together. This is a fingering sock weight. But thickness, weight-wise, they're going to go together fine. So that is one pairing that I'm doing. And then, when I was on vacation, now this is not something I bought. This is something I already had. Well, this I bought. This I bought on vacation. And there's a reason I bought it. See this kind of muddy, right over in here, kind of muddy looking purple? Do you remember the same yarn giveaway I won Wisterious? And that's pretty true to color. It's some odd kind of colors in here. But look when I put these two together. See if I can show you the purples. Yeah. See, I think it's going to go pretty close. Let me hold it back a distance here. You can really see some of the muddied, get the tag out of the way, some of the muddied purples are right in here. If you put this with it, it actually goes better than what it looks like, but they both have the same kind of browns in it. There you can see kind of the muddy colors showing up in both. So I actually think, and right here you can really see it well together. Because this has some of that kind of brown color in here is picked up in this one right in here. And some of this color is kind of that muddy purple that's over in here. So I really do think it's going to go pretty well together. Even though this looks more blue in the, it does have blue in it, but it has a lot of purples in it. It just doesn't show up real good in the monitor. But there you can see what I think it's going to look like. So these, like I said, this is something I bought on vacation. This was something I wanted to give away that I've been trying to figure out what to put it with. So then now on to what I bought. And what I bought is totally all acrylic. Okay. Which I don't normally buy, but I'll tell you what project I'm going to use it with. Several years ago, I bought some $2 yarn at a yarn clearance. And I didn't know what I wanted to make out of it. But it's autumn colors, which you know I love. So, and my bedroom has a quilt on the bed that I made that is done, it's maple leaves and it's all done in fall colors. I will insert a picture of it right in here. Okay, so here is the original yarn that I bought at a $2 sale years ago. And it is Red Heart Soft worsted weight. Let me see if I can find a color on here. It's called Garden. Okay. Then over time I picked up a green to go with it. And I picked up a gold to go with it. But then this week, when I was at my local yarn shop for our knit night, she has a $2 yarn table in the back. And I went back there and found more Red Heart to go with this. I'm going to try to hold all this up so you can see it. I got some brown Red Heart to go with this. I got some dark brown Patton's Canadian worsted weight to go with this. I got some rust color. This is Patton's Astra And it is also a worsted weight. And does it have a color? Just has a color number 2871, but it's kind of a rust color. And then I bought this, which is also more Patents Canadian, in that same gold color that I seem to be gravitating towards. You know, it will match everything else I'm working on, but that's to go with it. Here's the original color that all of this is going to match to. And then this is the only color I'm not sure of. This is also a Patents Canadian, and it's in a maroon color or kind of almost a cranberry color. That's the only one I don't think is going to go with this one. So this one I'll just set aside for something else. But yeah, all of these together. And this is going to eventually be an Afghan for the bed downstairs. We have a king size bed, and I quilted the quilt for the bed. It is 9 feet square. I felt like I was quilting a tent. It took forever, and I never ever want to quilt again at this point. I'm sure I will eventually, but at this point, I don't think I ever want to knit or to quilt again, because it was a little overwhelming. And then also something at Knit Night that I didn't buy, but one of the other ladies there had gotten a duplicate knitting magazine, so she asked if I'd wanted it. I was like, yes, please. So it's called Love of Knitting, and it has really got some good patterns in here. It says its U.S. value is $6.99. The Canada is $7.99. It's by interweave.com. Got some gorgeous patterns in here. So I think there's a pocketbook in here. Let me see if I can show this up close to you. Look at that. It is all mitered squares. I think there's a bigger picture in here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it, because it was really, I saw all kinds of patterns. It shows how to fit a sweater so that it fits you right. It has several. It has a scarf pattern. It has a sweater pattern. It has a capelet. It has, you know, of course it talks about different yarns. It has this like a hoodie with lace on the side. And let me see if I can find the pocketbook, because that was so cool looking. Oh, and there's this sweater. Look at the lace edge. I really liked that. I thought that was pretty. Probably not on me, but it's pretty. And maybe I didn't go far enough to show you the pocketbook. I'm a pocketbook freak. I absolutely love handbags. None of them are expensive. I get them off of eBay for about $10 a piece, but I've got them in about every color. And I use them. I mean, they're great big pocketbooks. They look like I'm toting a suitcase around, because I tend to use totes with my job. I'm always carrying my lunch, a book, my knitting, my regular pocketbook stuff. So it basically is a work bag. Here's a vest that's in there. You can see the back on it. It's really, really pretty. Here's the better picture of it on the front. So that's really nice. I'm going to try to find this pocketbook pattern in here, because that's what caught my attention. There's a couple of other sweaters in here that are really pretty too. I mean, there's quite a lot of patterns in here. Here's a beautiful shawl. It almost reminds me of a Faroese shawl, because it's got the center, has the center panel running down through the back right here. There's a up front close picture of what the stitches look like on it. So I thought that was called a Guernsey shawl. But I'm really looking for the pocketbook to show you. It's done with mitered, here it is. I knew there was a better picture. It's done with mitered squares, like your cozy blankets that everybody's making. Cozy memories. So there it is. So I saw that and went, oh, that's really pretty. I like that. So yeah, it was a great magazine. All kinds of patterns in it. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to make out of it, but I will be making something, because I just really liked that. All right, we're going to talk about a provisional cast on. When you have stitches that you start and you knit straight up. You have this edge where you cast on these are considered dead stitches. If I was going to pick up stitches here to have them continue this direction, because I've knit down, if I'm going to knit up this direction, I would need to pick these stitches back up on my knitting needle. So they're considered dead stitches. There's no live stitches on them. All right, but a provisional cast on creates live stitches. This is a provisional cast on that I've actually knit. I've knit down to here, and then as you can see, there's a lighter color of gold running along here. You can see it especially here. These stitches, this crocheted edge, and that's what this is, it's just a crocheted chain stitch, are holding the stitches live on the end. So when I get ready to pick these stitches back up, because I'm going to be continuing to knit, so that I wouldn't have a seam. Normally if I started knitting, I would have to pick up these stitches, or I would have to seam them together. So to avoid doing that, they do a provisional cast on. And what happens when you remove these, and I will show you that in a few minutes, you actually pull this and it undoes your chain stitch, and those stitches that are within that chain become live again. So I'm going to show you how to cast that on here. I have some stitches right here, and I am going to be putting the chain stitches onto the needles. This is a sweater I'm working on that calls for the side seams to be provisional cast on, so that you don't have a visible seam, so that it looks invisible. So here's what you do. You're going to chain stitch right onto your knitting needle. So you hold your yarn, put a knot in it with a little loop. You can chain a couple of stitches if you want, just for a little bit of a safety net, so that if part of it would pull out, it's easy to grab. You're going to put your yarn underneath the needle. You're going to use your crochet hook, and it doesn't matter what size crochet hook, and you're going to grab the yarn over top of the needle and pull it through your chain, just like that. And then you're going to bring the yarn back around again. You're going to reach your yarn over top of the needle, pull it through the loop just like before, move your yarn to the back, and then you're going to catch it again, pull it through the loop, move your yarn to the back. You want to make sure you keep these stitches along here snug, but not too tight and not too loose, because you're actually going to knit, when you come back through the row, you're going to knit these stitches, and that makes them live. So we'll do it a couple more times. You just are going to grab the yarn from over top of the needle, bring it through your loop, and then move the yarn back around again. So in doing this, you form your chain. So here's what it looks like. And then I would just remove the hook. You just slip this through so you can easily basically pull it loose, and your stitches kind of unzip for the most part, and you pick them up with your needles. So when I come through, I will actually be knitting these stitches right here. So that is a provisional cast on, and in a minute I will show you how to pick up these stitches when you remove these, what to do with them from there.
All right, we have had our cast on here, our provisional cast on, and we've knit up here. Now we are ready to pick these stitches back up so we can knit down this direction. In a normal picking up of stitches, you would have a ridge that would form along here that would look like a seam. So the purpose in a provisional cast on is so that it is seamless, and you won't see this mark at all. You will just be picking up the live stitches. So in order to do that, you are going to take the chained on section, and I did change color to blue so you could see this really well. And you are just simply going to have your knitting needle. You will need a crochet hook just to have on hand in the event that you would drop a stitch. So it's just handy to have one ready in case. You're going to take your needle. You are going to pull loose the slip stitch right here and slide it in. As you pull the chain out here, you're going to pick up that stitch. Pull the chain out and pick up that stitch. You can pick up the stitch and then pull the chain loose. You can do it either way. Either one will work. And you're just going to pull it out and pick up the stitch. In the event you would drop a stitch, say I've dropped this one here and it's pulled through so I can't pick it up, this is when you would use your crochet hook and just go through, pick up the stitch, and put it back onto your needle and continue. Pulling out a stitch. I tend to hold the chain in this hand and pick up the stitch with this hand. So I pick it up, pull the chain loose, pick up the stitch, and pull the chain loose.
I do have a giveaway running right now. It ends I'll be announcing the winner next week, so it'll run till next Friday, so a week from today when I'm recording this. It will be, I guess it ends on the 20th. And what you are going to win, if you are the winner, are these little Christmas. They can be used as stitch markers or they can be used as progress keepers. There's the one. So I guess little face turned around because he's really cute. A little snow person of some sort with little earmuffs. And then we have a little snowman. And we have a little Christmas wreath. And we have a little Christmas. Oh, let me get turned around. Little Christmas tree. And then I saw these things also at knit night and thought, I gotta throw these in with the prize too. There's these little thingies. And you may be going, what in the world are those for? I'm glad you asked. Let me show you here. They are oops, this is the bigger one. They are point protectors and they're in 2 different sizes. And you just slide your needles in. And they hold your stitches from falling off and they're joined together, so. And they're in 2 sizes. This one fits, I think this is a size 6, and this would be more for your worsted weight needles because it's a little bit bigger. Probably like size 8s, something like that. So that's going to be thrown in with the prize too. And in order to win this, because this is in honor of my Potiversary, which will be next Saturday, in order to win that, all you have to do is put a comment down below saying what your favorite episode or project that I've made is. And you can enter last week. You could put an entry in last week as well as this week. So to give you a possibility of 2 entries. And then I will use random generator and choose one of you to win the markers and the stitch protectors or the point protectors, and I will announce that next week. Alright, I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. Tonight is the night for technical difficulties, apparently, because I came upstairs to film and forgot to plug my battery in, and the computer died. So I was talking to myself and realized that the screen was completely dark. So that is kind of the end of this portion of the podcast. Stay tuned for part 2. And yeah, you can watch my husband and I chit chat if you want to. We answer all of your questions that you guys asked, and even a few more that you maybe didn't ask or probably don't want to know about. But anyway, we put that in there as well. And you will get to meet our little puppy, Cricket, who makes an appearance. So, Yeah, she has her cameo. And yeah, that's it for this week. And like I said, stay tuned for the question and answer section. And I will see you next week. Talk to you later. Bye.